I want to show you guys all promising underdogs and favorites that I noticed for UFC 300. I'll also provide you my final probability for those fighters' victories, as well as their stat differentials against their opponents. Please do me a favor and like and subscribe if you find this informative, helpful, or even entertaining. I've also added my Patreon information in the description if you want to support me through that. Definitely not required, but it would be very much appreciated. Running data and editing takes hours every day and week, so I'd really appreciate any kind of support. And thank you to everyone who has shown me support recently. Also, if you like detailed breakdowns and predictions, I do those videos weekly as well on my channel for full cards, including prelims, so feel free to check those out on my channel. Let's go ahead and jump right in. First, let's take a look at promising underdogs. The fighters' names are on the leftmost column, followed by their probability of victories that I presented to you guys in the prediction video from earlier this week. These probabilities aren't only based on several data science prediction models that have been trained for accuracy, but other qualitative information as well about the fighter, such as their momentum, their recent performances, their career trajectory, psychological factors, training camps, and their weight cuts. Then I also provide the stat advantages for fighters compared to their opponent to the right. I've excluded stat differentials where one of the fighters has a 0 for their stats, otherwise that can be a little bit misleading. Alright, so for the first promising underdog fighter, we have Jamal Hill. A lot of people are counting Hill out in his fight against Alex Pereira. However, the probability of him winning is a lot closer than you'd think. He's 4 years younger, he lands 2.31 more strikes per minute than him, he absorbs less strikes than him, and he has a slightly better takedown defense than him. Here are the things that Jamal Hill is capable of, which he can utilize to defeat Pereira. For starters, he would need to use his footwork to avoid getting trapped against the fence or caught with Pereira's counters. He would also need to mix up his striking to disrupt Alex Pereira's rhythm and his timing, and utilize his jab to keep Pereira at bay. He should grapple selectively while avoiding Pereira's deadly knees and his elbows, and try to keep a high pace and pressure, which could cause Pereira to use a lot of his energy. After putting him through my simulation models and doing research outside of statistics as well, I give Jamal Hill a 47.2% probability of victory against Alex Pereira, which makes him a great candidate for an underdog pick and value bet. So the next promising underdog is Max Holloway. Holloway is 3 years younger than Gaethje, he absorbs 2.75 less strikes per minute, he has a 6% better striking defense, he lands 0.14 more takedowns on average, and is 28% more accurate with them, and has a 9% better takedown defense. He can defeat Justin Gaethje by using high-volume striking, cardio, and durability to outwork and stop Gaethje. Holloway also has a great chin, and he's a really durable fighter, so when his great striking defense isn't coming into play and Gaethje happens to land shots, he might be able to absorb some of them without hurting his chances too much. If you've seen any Holloway fights, you also know he's a crazy cardio machine, and if it goes into the later rounds, Holloway's chances of victory increase. He has a great mentality and his striking game is diverse enough to have a good chance of pulling this off. After running both of these fighters through my prediction models and doing some research outside of statistics as well, I gave Holloway a 44.7% probability of victory. Also, not to mention, he has great fight history and experience with some of the best in the division. Moving on to the next fighter, surely you guys wouldn't think that Charles Oliveira would be on a pay-per-view as an underdog, and I would not feature him as a promising underdog in my video. Charles Oliveira has to be the next promising underdog in this video. He's 3 inches taller than Tsarukyan, he has a 2-inch longer reach, he has a 5% better striking accuracy, and has a 4% better takedown accuracy. Now, Oliveira can utilize his elite submission skills, his durability, and his experience to win against a fighter like Arman Tsarukyan. Oliveira's submission game is unmatched. He's durable and he has great cardio. He also has a rich history of fight experience and pulling off wins under pressure. And he has a diverse game as well. He uses great kicks, knees, and elbows which hurt fighters pretty quickly. After running both of those guys through my prediction models and doing research outside of stats, I give Charles Oliveira a 42.1% probability, which is pretty fair for the risk and reward ratio that you can get if you believe he'll win as well. And then we have the next fighter, Jiri Prochazka, one of my favorite fighters of all time with one of the best auras of all time. Jiri is 1 year younger than Rakic, he has a 2-inch longer reach, he lands 1.3 more strikes per minute and at a 5% better accuracy. His takedown accuracy is 25% higher than Rakic, and he has a tiny submission average advantage as well. Jiri brings fear to his opponents, and if you don't believe me, watch that stare down between Jiri and Rakic after that press conference. I'm not saying Rakic was afraid, but Jiri is just next level intimidating. This is easily one of the best fights on the card, at least in my opinion. Anyways, Yuri executes relentless offensive pressure against his opponents. In fact, he's finished 28 fights out of his 29 wins. That's a 97% finish rate. Can you guys believe that? His chaotic and unpredictable style can be difficult to deal with and may overwhelm Rakic. He also has a diverse striking game as he utilizes these weird spinning techniques, his elbows and knees, and these overhands that come from very unpredictable angles. His durability and cardio have been tested as well, and he has proven that he can take heavy shots and keep marching forward, as we saw in that Glover-Teixeira fight. Now, if you've researched anything about Yuri Prochazka's mentality in MMA and how he thinks of it as an art that he's constantly perfecting while practicing full mindfulness and awareness, you know that he definitely worked on his game a lot after that loss to Alex Pereira. I think we may see a next level Yuri Prochazka, and he has all the right tools to potentially pull this off. After running both guys through my models and evaluating other information aside from statistics, I gave Yuri Prochazka a 47.1% probability of victory, which makes him a perfect fighter to feature as a promising underdog. For the next fighter, I put Sodiq Yusuff. He lands 3.25 more strikes per minute and absorbs 0.58 less per minute. He has a 17% better striking defense and a 20% better takedown defense, so his striking game is better and his defense game is better. Now, I rewatched some of his fights, and I think if we see a prepared and focused Sodiq Yusuff, he can utilize his superior striking techniques, his movement, and his cardio to defeat the relatively one-dimensional Lopez. Yusuff has a better technical striking game. He has sharp boxing skills and great footwork. He also pushes a fast pace and great cardio, which can be rewarding later into the fight. His defense is underrated. His footwork and head movement need to get more credit, and he can use it against a power puncher such as Lopez and force him to use a lot of energy. The later that this fight goes, the more it'll turn towards Yusuff's favor. After running both of these guys through my prediction models and researching everything outside of statistics as well, I gave Sodiq Yusuff a 51.1% probability of victory. And since that number is above that 50% mark, it means that he's actually one of my picks. I think he's very capable of winning. I think Vegas seriously underestimates Sodiq Yusuff's technique and skill, and I think he's an underdog that gets it done. And for my last promising underdog, I have Jessica Andrade. She's 4 years younger than Marina Rodriguez. She also lands 1.9 more strikes per minute and at a 2% higher accuracy. Her takedown average is higher by 2.2, and she lands takedowns 12% more accurately. She also has a 6% better takedown defense and a very small submission average advantage as well. Now, if you picked up on the key points I just reviewed, Andrade has a clear grappling advantage in this fight. She also has good pressure and pace. She's aggressive and also durable. If she can get this fight to the mat, which she is capable of doing, her top control and her ground and pound could control Rodriguez. She also has fight-ending power in her hands. She has great KO/TKO victories against well-known fighters. If she can force a gritty fight, her strengths can pull off an upset victory, and she has a solid probability of doing so. After running both of these fighters through my prediction models and researching other qualitative information as well outside of statistics, I gave Andrade a 49.1% probability of victory against Rodriguez, which is very high for an underdog. It practically puts it right at that 50-50 chance, which is why I think that if you're leaning towards Andrade already, let this give you a little bit more confidence. I think she's a promising underdog that deserves this spot in this video. Now let's take a look at the promising favorites, which I've chosen through three main criteria. First, they have a high statistical weighted confidence either through my prediction models or through fighter stat evaluation or some combination of both. Second, their opponent doesn't have a high probability of victory, so you won't notice any overlap between the underdogs I just showed you and these fighters. Third is that their odds aren't too expensive. If a fighter has -400 or -700 odds, they're obviously just too expensive to pick, but you could parlay them if you want and include them in your bets. I'm focusing more on finding you guys value rather than just stating obvious winners and pointing out the -500 type fighters. So I consider these three things, I do all of the work for you, and then I show you valuable picks that fit that criteria. Now, I'm not going to dive into prop bets, but you can use my prediction video from earlier this week where I break down full stats and prediction models and pair it with this list to see what the most logical prop bets are. In those prediction videos, I also review the likely methods of victories, so that will be of use to you as well. I've also included the stat differentials for these favorites so that you can see where they have advantages and just how large they are. Now, I won't really dive into why each of these fighters are the more confident picks because I like to keep this video short and dense, full of information for you guys. But if you want that in-depth type of information in those breakdowns, you can check out that prediction video from earlier this week on my channel, which reviews all of them. So you should definitely use this list as a start to help you narrow down your bets and make your parlays. That pretty much wraps up this video. I really appreciate you all watching and being so supportive. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. It'll help keep me encouraged and motivated to continue providing you all of these insights and improving the channel over time. Thank you all, and see you guys in the next one.